Hello everyone. I'm very glad to present at this conference our recent study on invasion of Ponto-Caspian amphipods in the Masurian Lakeland in northeastern Poland, associated with human leisure activities. At the beginning, we need to remember that the biological invasions are one of the strongest threats to the biodiversity on a local and global scale. But also we need to remember about really high economic costs of invasions. When we compare the cost of aquatic invasions with the cost of invasion in terrestrial habitats, the costs of aquatic bioinvasions are much smaller, but still we can estimate them at around $20 billion per year. At the same time, within this cost, the cost of invasion of only crustaceans is around 270 millions, and within them, the cost of amphipod invasions are around $180,000, which are mainly for damage costs. Although these costs are much smaller, they are still big, and many studies state that they are underestimated. We need to study better amphipod invasions to understand better the real impact of amphipods on biodiversity and environment. The Ponto-Caspian region is one of the best source of many invasive species in aquatic ecosystems in Europe. It consists on it consists on three seas: the Black Sea, the Sea of Azov, and the Caspian Sea. The complex geological history of this region resulted in really high level of endemism. This region is a hotspot for many amphipods and also other species or other taxa. But also we need to understand that this resulted in really broad tolerance to temperature and salinity of many species. At consequence, many of them are really successful invaders in Europe, and many of them use the rivers and the canals that connected previously isolated water bodies to spread in Europe through three main corridors: the southern corridor, the central corridor, and the northern corridor. In Poland, we recorded 7 Ponto-Caspian amphipods invasive species, and 4 of them, 𝐏𝐸𝐬𝐬𝐻𝐸𝐻𝐸, 𝐷𝐿𝐸𝐸𝐻𝐻, and Ponto-Camarus robustoides, shown at these images, are present in northeastern Poland in the Masurian Lakeland, which is one of the biggest lakeland in Central Europe and one of the most important lakeland in Central Europe from the touristic perspective. We hypothesized that a high touristic pressure contributes to the dispersion of invasive amphipods, and at the same time, the presence of the native species of amphipods is linked to isolated lakes where the level of touristic pressure is very low. For this purpose, we use the information on species distribution between 2001 and 2016, and also for 2014 and 2016, so the two last periods of our sampling. We also use the information on touristic pressure, anthropopressure, and water parameters. One of the most important parts of our analysis was the density of boats. Unfortunately, we missed the questionnaires. We lack the questionnaires, and the only information about density of boats in our study was based on the maximum number of boats which can be present in the marinas, in all marinas on each lake. Thanks to this, we have the information on the maximum possible number of boats which can be used in the lake. The first analysis of species distribution shows that among 4 invasive species, 2 of them, 𝐷𝐿-𝐴 and Ponto-Caspian robustoides, which were present in some of the lakes before our study, their abundance is decreasing in most of the lakes. At the same time, the new invaders, meaning the 2 new invasive amphipods, which are recorded in the Masurian Lakeland for the first time in our study, these are 𝐷𝐿-𝐴 and the 𝐚𝐦𝐩𝐡𝐢𝐻, their abundance and presence in some lakes is really rapidly increasing. In the same time, the presence of only one native species, 𝐵 lacustris, is associated only with isolated lakes. Although this lake is quite close to the invaded lakes, it's still somehow isolated. Only in isolated lakes we recorded native species, and we didn't record any invasive species in these isolated lakes. And indeed, the lakes, the really isolated lakes where native species are present, are mostly explained by the distance from town, the biggest distance from town, so the level of anthropopressure is lower, and also by the good development of shoreline. At the same time, the lakes where mostly invasive species are present are well explained by higher density of boats. And we also can look on our results of canonical analysis of principal coordinates, and the presence of only one native species, 𝐵 lacustris, is explained mostly by shoreline development and bigger distance from town. At the same time, the presence of invasive species, mostly of 𝐷𝐿-𝐴 is associated with higher density of boats and lower distance from town. The results of our models shows that the presence of 𝐵 lacustris is decreasing with an increase of number of invasive species, and at the same time, the presence of 𝐵 lacustris is increasing with bigger distance from town. 2 new species recorded for the first time in our study area, 𝐚𝐦𝐻𝐢𝐻 and 𝐷𝐿-𝐴, rapidly spread in the Masurian Lakeland. At the same time, the older invaders, Ponto-Caspian robustoides and 𝐷𝐿-𝐴, their abundance is decreasing, and in some of the lakes they are already displaced. And the only one native species, 𝐵 lacustris, cannot coexist with invasive gammarids, and its area of occurrence is limited to the isolated lakes, where the level of anthropopressure and touristic pressure is very low, or there is no any activities. Recreational boats and the same time and the distance to the town, they are one of the most important factors of expansion of invasive amphipods. This is why we really strongly recommend to use the check, clean, and dry strategy to prevent the biological invasions of aquatic species in lakes, rivers, and other freshwater habitats. We need to remember about a good level of education, about questionnaires, and about constant monitoring that should be continued, considering invasive species of chosen lakes and recreational boats. Thank you very much for your attention. The results which I presented they are already published, and you can find our paper. If you have any questions to the presentation or to the paper, I'm really open to answer a question. You can also find me on ResearchGate, and you can easily contact me then. Thank you very much for your attention.